Good morning. Today we're talking about the top three reasons why women physicians are a lot more at risk than men when it comes to burnout. And why is that? We are talking today with a contributor to a big book that just came out. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. I'm the founder and CEO of Lead Physician Online Leadership Program for Physicians. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention. Go to our YouTube link to be notified of any videos that are going to be coming up and see previous ones. Today, we're talking to Sharon McLaughlin, and Sharon is a board certified plastic surgeon. She's also the founder of a large Facebook group called Female Physician Entrepreneurs. If you haven't joined that, go on there to learn all about entrepreneurship. She has the latest book called Thriving After Burnout. And this book has just come out. It's a compilation of 50 women's physician stories and about them thriving after burnout and providing you with strategies as to what helped them. So, without further ado, let me bring on Sharon. Thank you so much, Sharon, for being here. Thank you so much for this everything that you do.
Dr. Coe, thanks for having me. Excited to speak with
Yeah,
you.
this. Thank you. This we're talking today about top three reasons why women physicians are more at risk. Before we go into that, why this book? Why has this become one of your big passions? And then let's talk a little about that female physician entrepreneur network that you have.
So, burnout's been big in medicine for a number of years now, right? But we hear different stories, we hear studies that are being done, but we don't actually hear from the people so much. So, I
Okay.
thought that it would be great to get a group of especially women physicians together and tell their story. What happened? What did it look like? I know for myself, burnout looked very different than other people. And that's one of the things about burnout. It is different with individual physicians, how it presents, how it feels, what we need to
Yes.
do to get over it. So I thought that getting at least 50 people together, share their stories, and then take it from there. See if there were any common trends. See if we
Wow.
could do a case study from here. But the whole idea was to help other docs going through it because between the 50 stories, one must resonate with something.
Right. And I know you have a ton of followers on Female Physician Entrepreneurs Network. Probably on your web page, which we'll talk about later, but also Facebook. Is this kind of the impetus, this platform that you had for I don't know how many years now? Is this what kind of drew you to write this book, and because of all the friends that you've made from that?
Yeah, the whole idea about the group when it started was that I had burned out and I felt like at the time I didn't even know about coaching. I didn't know about this wasn't spoken about. I feel like this was back in 2011, 12. And then I just stayed in medicine, even though I don't think that I probably should have stayed at the time in retrospect. And when I started the group, I wanted women to know that there are options outside of medicine to still practice the way that you want. But if you were able to generate money through investing, a side job that could be a full time job, just to have options, that you're no longer
Mm,
forced to do something because we come out with over $200,000 of school loans, and that's just from medical school. So now you're in a position that you feel stuck. As
right.
we know, so many of the practices have been taken over by hospitals, by private equity groups. So again, they run the rules, they run your schedule, and there's not a lot of autonomy there, which is
Right.
one of the reasons why we end up in burnout. But between not having autonomy and then having the school loans, you're stuck in a position like, what else could I do that could even help me get out of this position?
Yeah, and I see so many people that you're helping. Sharon has been doing this, I didn't realize for that long, since 2011. She goes on live. She's been put in all these different ways of how do you create your own brand. You've put on so much great topics on there that have attracted people. So here's her Facebook group, Female Physician Entrepreneurs. Let's talk about your book now. This book, Thriving Through Burnout, did you put out a request from your female physician entrepreneurs to tell their stories, and how did you get these people, these wonderful women, to come up? and help contribute to this book?
Exactly. With a set deadline.
With
Because
a set deadline, that's
if
huge.
anybody has a plan to do this, it doesn't matter if you give a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months, 80% of, and I love you guys, will always be like the day before. And then you'll always get stories after the deadline, like, oh, I missed it. And could you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And that has to do with boundaries, which we're going to speak about. So have a set deadline. All right. If you're planning on doing something like this, have a set deadline. But yeah, I put out an email and I put it in the group. And that's one of the ways that you can test too. Never just go and do something. You could,
Yes.
but what are the chances of failing? Higher, right? So one of
Right.
the ways I tested was just even I had this idea. The response was overwhelming, so that I knew that there would be interest in doing it. And that was the way that I tested the waters. Like, would I even go through? If only a couple of people reached out to me, I probably would make it more of a workshop than a
Mm.
book, right? Because a book is a
Mm.
lot of time, a lot goes
Well,
into it, especially with 50 different authors,
okay.
co-authors.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. So let's talk about those top three reasons, and then let's go into maybe talk a little bit about the solutions. I know a lot of the solutions are within the book itself. So go get that book, Thriving After Burnout. It's on Amazon now, right?
It's on Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, on Amazon under Sharon's name. So please go on to Amazon for that. So let's talk about top three reasons that they're more burned out than men.
Boundaries, for one thing. When we don't know how to say no, I think they're all tied in, truthfully. People pleasing is another one, but we'll speak about that. Boundaries. You want to make everybody happy. We're so used to giving as physicians, right? We're very giving people. As women, we're very giving. We're very nurturing and caring.
Mm,
So, if you have children, if you have a family, where does the responsibility of the child care come up? Usually with the woman, although that's not always the case, but I'd say more women than not. And you see that in the book. So it's not a surprise. We've heard it in the group before as well. So when you have boundaries, like you want to make everybody happy, so you're always saying yes. And what happens? You end up giving up self-care on yourself. And people have said so much in the book and over the years, I feel like I have nothing left anymore. I'm an empty cup. I've given and given. Somewhere along the line, I lost myself.
mhm, mhm.
And it doesn't even have to be in medicine. I think this is just women in general. We give and we give and we want to make everybody happy and we
So
don't want
true.
confrontation.
And we don't even realize we're doing it.
It's a little at a
Mhm.
time. We
Yeah,
don't realize that we're doing it, but what we do realize is that we're mentally exhausted.
right. Yeah.
So I think a lot of
Uh,
this has to do with boundaries and being able to say no, because when you say no to something, you actually say yes to something else, whether that's more time for you, whether that's more time for something that really means something to you.
mhm,
So that's what I have to say is I hear a lot of I don't have time. Do a time
mhm,
audit. Where are you spending your time?
mhm.
Could even be something silly like social media because you find like that's a break, a mental break. So you're on like TikTok or the reels and just looking at videos. Time yourself. How long are you actually doing that? How long are
Right.
you running around? And then think about what you can actually do to have more time. Are you running around with the kids all the time? Could you carpool? Could you ask for help? Could you delegate? Really do a time audit first and realize where you're spending your time. And then think
Yes.
about the solutions, what I could do to have more time.
Mhm.
And you're going to have to set up boundaries. Again,
Yep.
you're going to have to learn to say no. I always feel like it's a muscle, like, right? Like
It
you
is
work,
a muscle.
you work it and you become better at it.
Right. But just like a muscle, you need to be aware of the problem first, that you haven't given yourself your own self care to begin with. Because I remember in 2011, being in Sedona with my mom. We took her for her 70th birthday party, and I went to I'm in a crystal store. It's like one of those spiritual retreats, and waiting for my sister, and my mom, to be done with shopping, and so I ended up getting a little reading from a spiritual. I don't know. I've never done that. And he basically told me everything about my life and said that, you know what, you need to start making yourself the queen. And I'm like, "Whoa." So I wasn't even aware. So if we're not even aware, how do we even have come solutions? So I'm so glad you're bringing this book out there for women.
You know that you're mentally exhausted. We know that you're
Yeah.
exhausted. You're tired all the time. You have no energy. Obviously, go to a physician, get a workout. But if everything seems okay, start doing the time audit. Why are you exhausted? Where are you
Yeah.
spending your time? Are you even
Yeah.
getting enough sleep? Because that all
Yep.
comes into self care. If
Yep.
you're getting 6 hours of sleep a night, why is that? Or even
Right.
6 hours a night, what are you doing with your time?
Right. Right. So let's go to number 2. That's so good. I'm sure there's so many other strategies and solutions that other women physicians are sharing on in the book. But number 2
People
for the
pleasing?
top 3 reasons?
Yeah. I would say people pleasing because, and this comes down to setting boundaries as well. That's why I think they're all tied in together.
Got it.
As woman physician or people pleaser, I think going through the program, at least when I trained, but still now, there's not as many women. In medical school now, it's equal, right? But during our training, and for those who have been out, those who are going through burnout, we're women physicians. So I felt like we always had, and I've heard this over and over again, people looking over our shoulders, people waiting for us to mess up. And we don't like failure in general. Physicians don't like failure. We're not used to it. And so when we feel like we messed up a little, like even the slightest little mistake, it's a big deal. We don't know how to accept failure. And so we want to people please. We want to keep everything good. We want to be under the radar.
Right.
And when we people please, we're not actually being our authentic selves, right? Because we may be doing things that we may not be aligned with. Maybe it's not our core values. Why are we doing it? Is it really for us? Probably not. It's more for the other person or the other group to people please. And so again, that in itself can deplete a lot of our energy to
Yes.
give energy in areas that we don't really want to give it.
It's like we've been socialized as little girls to always have manners compared to our brothers to or our colleagues to people please. So it's just kind of a socialization. Hopefully, a lot of that's changing. I know with my daughter, it is. She's a teenage daughter. So okay, that's great. What's number 3?
Imposter syndrome. Somewhere along the line, we feel like we don't belong. Like we got here, we
Mhm,
were able to get here, but we don't really belong here. Like there was
mhm.
some mistake along the line. They accidentally chose me, but they shouldn't have chosen me because I'm not good enough. And I don't. That probably comes from childhood. One of the questions in the book is, do you think that there was anything as you were growing up that increased your chance of burnout? So why do we have imposter syndrome? We know it's more common in women than men, but why is that? Right? We doubt ourselves. And so when we doubt ourselves, when we're people pleasing, we just end up mentally exhausted when we're not setting boundaries. And all of that kind of ties in together because you wake up one day and it's like, oh my God, I don't trust myself anymore. I'm not good at what I'm doing. And there in itself, you end up doing more to like people please to show that you really deserve to be here.
Yep.
And then again, it leads to that depletion of energy and why you may be burned out.
Right. Thank you so much. That's so good. I appreciate that, and I can't imagine. I need to get that book so I could read the stories. That sounds and maybe have somebody come on to this podcast because I'm sure there's some amazing stories there. So let me just share some of the. This is correct. This is the website. If you're interested in learning more about FPE Strong, tell us a little bit about what people can get from going to your website.
We started that group a few years back, maybe like 5 years or so, all about business. I really try to limit the advertising and that I want it to be about business, a place where you can truly come, where it's totally free to learn about business and just ask questions and have people help you. That's the premises of the group. I do love projects. I believe that when we do, there's power in numbers, right? So we've done summits, we've done fundraising. Uh, I have the copy of the book. I keep looking at it. So
Oh, good.
yeah, I
Good.
love the book. I actually,
Look how thick that is too. Can you
yeah,
turn it on its side? I didn't realize it was gonna be that thick. That's a lot of stories.
it's
Wow.
370 pages.
Wow, amazing. And
And we're
and
going
your Facebook group again, female physician entrepreneurs, go and join that because there's a lot of traffic in there, a lot of comments, a lot of sharing going on in there. So, thank you so much for being on here with me, Sharon. Um, if anybody's interested in getting have a topic on physician leadership, please reach out to me at info at drlcco.com. And join us for our leadership training this year, leadphysician.org. If this intrigues you, go on there. So any last words of wisdom for us, Sharon, as we close?
Say no. Learn to say no. Your life will be so much easier when you learn to say no. You don't even, like Dr. Ko mentioned, you don't even realize that you're saying yes all the time until
You
you're
don't.
aware.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
maybe that's something else you want to keep track of. What are you saying yes to that you really don't want to do?
Wow. Thank you so much. Everyone, get this book. Thank you, everyone.